welcome to the Chef and Guest's Kitchen. My name is Kriya Gangia. Today we have a very special Heritage Day episode for you, where I'm going to be cooking alongside Chef Franco Base, and we are going to be doing a oxtail, slow braised oxtail, right?
That is correct, yes. So in honor of Heritage Day, I was tasked with thinking of a recipe, and asking a chef what would you like to cook is a terrible question. So for me it goes back to meat and potatoes. That's what my grandmother taught me, that's what my mom taught me, and oxtail and mashed potato is exactly what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to take you through the processes as we go along.
Shall we start with the ingredients?
Yes, perfectly. So what we have here is the oxtail, and it's a cut of meat on the cow that does a lot of work, and what you're looking for is a piece of meat that does a lot of work, because the more work it does, the more parts and fibers there is. When you cook that down slowly, the better it tastes. So thyme and heat gives wonderful flavor.
Okay, what else we got?
So we have here some molten salt, some freshly cracked black pepper, we have some diced carrots, diced onion, celery and leeks. This is a bouillon cube, also a little stock cube with a little bit of stock inside it, made into a jelly state form. Over here we have some cut up thyme and sage. Star anise is the secret to beef, and you'll taste that later. And then we have some bay leaf, some crushed garlic, some passata, a little bit of flour, chopped up parsley, some lemon zest, a little bit of milk, potatoes and butter.
One of the most important things is we have to season the meat, and that's how we start.
Right, so to begin with, just a little touch of oil, because remember, oxtail is very fatty, so you don't need to go too heavy on the oil. A little bit of pepper and salt. Now, with seasoning salt, people tend to under-season a lot. What you want to do is put enough salt onto the meat, because it's going to cook into the actual meat and into the braise.
So this is quite a different method, putting it into the oven first and browning it instead of browning it in a pan. Why this method?
So the reason why I choose to rather pop it into the oven versus the pan is oven works with a fan, works with convection heat. So what that heat does is it helps the whole piece of meat brown, and brown is flavor. That's what you want. You can get the same result out of a pot or a pan, but it's going to take a little bit longer to do. And doing it in the oven just gives you something where you can pop it in the oven, let it do its thing, and you can focus on doing something else.
All right, let's get going.
So in she goes. And what I've done is I've put the oven on full whack. Right, so once you've got that in the oven, you can get your pot. So this pot is nice and hot. A little bit of oil, and in with your veggies. Now, because this is going to be a slow braise, you don't really have to do everything at different intervals. Get it in the pot, back on the stove. Right, so we've got the veg into the pot. What we're going to do now is add our other ingredients.
What are we adding?
So we're going to start with the herbs.
Herbs. I can pass it to you.
Thank you so much. That goes in.
All right, then next up.
A little bit of garlic. Yes, please. Thank you. So I'm not going to use everything, just enough, because we're going to use some for the end garnish as well.
Interesting.
And
what else do you need?
What we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of flour to this. That's going to help with the thickening. Thank you. Just about a teaspoon or so. Here we go. And next up is going to be our wine. So we have a very special wine that we're using today. Right, so we're using a Aslina wine today, and it is a Cab Sav.
So it's quite an interesting story behind the wine. It's made by a South African woman. The wine is actually named after her grandmother, who was kind of the driving force of getting her into agriculture and wine farming in South Africa. So how much wine are we putting in here, Franco? Because, you want some wine in your oxtail.
So as a personal rule in my life, I don't cook with wine that I don't personally drink myself. So that's a number one rule. When it comes to how much you're going to use, you literally pour until your ancestors tell you to stop.
So it depends how heavy your ancestors were.
Exactly, yes. So roughly looking at about a glass, 2 glasses, depending on how much meat that you're cooking.
One thing I've noticed is in this recipe, you don't use any water. Why?
So the reason I haven't put in any water as yet is because there's moisture inside that oxtail that's going to cook out while the braising is happening. There's also moisture inside the passata. So
right.
I will gauge that when we put everything in the pot and everyone becomes friends, then we can see how much water we're going to add to the situation.
It's an interesting one because I know most people will go, okay, fine, stock, we need a whole liter of water and all of this processes to get it down. Now we're cutting out that cooking time.
Exactly. And what a lot of people do is they actually end up rather boiling the whole pot instead of braising. With braising, what you want is the liquid to just cover the meat, just slightly, so that there is a little bit of meat sticking out on top. What a lot of people do is they fill the pot completely and then literally end up boiling their meat instead of cooking it, which is why the 150 temperature that we're going to be using for 5 to 6 hours just slows it down nicely so that the meat can succumb to letting go and just releasing that delicious flavor that we can't wait to taste.
So this is the reason why you want chef and guests to come to your house and cook dinner for you, because it's little tweaks like this that you may not know about, and it just gives a whole new element to your dinner party and the flavors that you have. So check it out, chefandguests.co.za, and you can book Franco to come and cook at your house. What's next, Franco?
Right, so next up we're going to be adding the passata as well as the stock.
Okay, so passata, so that goes in, and then just a normal kind of stock. This can be store-bought. So
that is a store-bought beef stock cube.
If you want to be fancy, you can make it yourself, but
look, if you have a few days, you can totally make the stock cube yourself, no problem.
What flavors are we hoping to get out of the stock cube?
So the reason why I love using stock cubes is it's convenient. It gives you strong concentrated beef, intensy beef flavor, which is what you want. Just to tell you real quick what I'm doing now is we have a beautiful color on the meat, and that's going to go straight into the stock.
Bring it over here, let's get a shot of it. So everyone can see what we're talking about when we say browning of meat. You want that coloration, it's got a little bit of browning on the side, and the fat is starting to get a little bit liquidy.
Exactly, and that sound is deliciousness. So all the friends in the pot. Right, so this is what I wanted to explain to you earlier about adding water in. You want to see where the level of everything is before you put your liquid in. So you just want the top of the beef just to peek out like, hey, how are you guys doing? Right, and then everything into the oven. Now the reason we use 150 degrees is you don't have to constantly be worrying if the pot is going to burn, because 150 is low enough that everything will get cooked the way it should without burning the bottom and anything sticking. And that is again another reason why you should use an oven to slow braise versus on a stovetop, so that nothing catches on the bottom.
And so you get a whole, like an all-round heat.
An all-round heat, yes.
Okay, so now this is the point in time where you'd pour yourself a glass of wine, go sit outside, have some chats with some friends for 6 hours, and then you'd make your potatoes, which we're going to do now.
You literally have time to kill, yes.
So obviously when it comes to having, you know, really good wholesome food, you want an accompaniment that really complements it. So potatoes, how are we going to make potatoes? Because I know you have some history with this.
Yes, so with my potatoes, I love eating any form of potatoes, whether it's French fries, whether it's mash, or whether it's just your little croquettes. What I've done here is just I have some little chopped up potatoes, and what we're going to do is boil these until they are fork tender. So you literally want them almost falling apart. And then what we're going to do is put them through a ricer. Now you can mash them by hand with a rice masher, well, with a masher, or you can use grandma's tool, which is called a ricer.
Interesting.
And yeah, guess what you're going to be doing today?
Oh, I'm going to be ricing today. And then, of course, like you said, everything's better with butter, right?
Absolutely. And these two ingredients, milk and butter, are going to go into our potatoes once they've been riced. A little bit of salt and pepper, and that is my mash.
Shall we get going?
Absolutely. So we pop these into boiling water. And we just let them go until they're nice and soft. It takes about 12 to 15 minutes depending on your potato and how big you've cut them.
So tell us a little bit about you, because you have quite an interesting culinary background.
Yes, so do you have time for a series?
No, I need a
okay, you need the short and
nutshell
sweet.
version.
Right, so basically currently I have 2 diplomas. One is in hotel management and one is in professional cookery. Worked overseas in Qatar for 6 years with the Hyatt company. Came back, studied culinary as a full-time profession, and yeah, basically went to Capsicum, met 4 Seasons, And as you know, COVID happened, so basically, long story short, decisions had to be made, and I was like, perfect time to do what I love most in life, and that is serve people and see your face when you're eating my food.
So how does that kind of benefit you as a chef with Chef and Guests? All this history, what are we getting if you come to have dinner with us?
So literally everything that I've done in my life has now culminated and brought me to this point in my life where basically I get to serve people in their homes, where they're comfortable, and they get to eat and experience food that they would find in restaurants, food that they would have to go to far and wide to source, right? So you basically have a situation where the chef comes to you and gives you that whole experience of having fine dining, beautiful, delicious, soul-comforting food in the privacy of your own home. And let's face it. And
safety of your own home.
Yes, no one is more relaxed than in their own home. The chef in the kitchen, different story. But you in your home, very relaxed.
So that's one of the benefits of getting Chef and Guests into your house. Not only will Franco come to your home, he'll bring all the ingredients with you, cook dinner, 3 courses if I'm correct.
3, 4, 5, 6,
anything
7.
you want. And he'll set the table, lay everything out, and you know the best part about all of this, when he's done, he's going to clean up the kitchen as well.
I know, right? We do everything.
Shall we check how those potatoes are doing?
Fantastic.
So this is quite an interesting method. I've never used a ricer before, so I'm quite keen on this.
Well, first time for everything. It's very, very easy.
So what is the difference between a ricer and a masher?
So the only difference between the two is the amount of force that's going to be used. With a masher, you're doing this. With the ricer, you're using the leverage of the lever.
So what does that do? Does it change the fluffiness of the potatoes?
It makes it more fluffy, it makes you smooth, it makes your life easy, basically. So let's go with 2.
Okay, you're testing my skills here.
Yeah.
Let's give it a go, shall we?
And you literally just... There we go. There we go. It takes a few seconds.
You really have to put in a bit of effort into it. Okay, go for it.
Right, cool. So I'll just load you up.
It's a good thing I didn't go to gym today.
Exactly, free gym all day.
So we're working off all the calories that we're going to put on later by eating this?
Probably not, but you can try.
I'm very impressed at how easy it kind of comes out.
And it's all about leverage and just cooking your potato as soft as possible.
So it doesn't really matter if you cook it for 20 minutes, if you cook it for an hour. Does it matter?
Yes, it does, because if it's undercooked, it's going to give you a very, very, very grainy potato. Just push that down, give you some more space. We're going to just put as much butter as we feel needs to be there to get that glossy, smooth texture. There you go.
So how do you know when it's too much, when your potatoes are swimming in butter?
You'll actually see that it splits. But there is a way to save yourself and the mash if you've done that, is you just add a little bit of cold milk.
Okay.
But we're not going to get to that point.
No, we're not.
Right, so we're just going to pop this back into the same pot. Our steaming hot potatoes.
Why are we putting it back? Do we put it back on the stove?
Yes. So what the stove is going to do is just give you a little bit of heat just to dry out that little bit of moisture that's left.
Okay, clever. Because I know a lot of people, you take your potatoes straight out, you mash it, you put your butter, you sprinkle some herbs, and it goes straight onto the table.
Yeah, no, we do things differently. No, look, each to their own. Everyone does things differently. So we're going to start off with 2. Let's make it 3, right? Because you can always...
Put more, but you don't want to put too much.
Exactly. And once the butter's melted, could you please pass me a little bit of milk?
Sure, that I can do.
Thank you. And in with our milk. Give this a stir. And milk and butter, that's where you get your soft, velvety mash. So we started with 3. We're going to go a little bit more.
Are we working with salted butter, unsalted butter? Does it even matter?
This is salted butter, but potatoes is one of those things that actually needs a lot of seasoning for you to actually taste the salt, which is why I haven't started seasoning yet. I want my milk and my butter to do its thing first, and then I'll season it.
Obviously, it makes a difference if you season the water that you boil it in as well.
Correct, yes. So same like pasta. Seasoned pasta water seasons the pasta. Same with boiling potatoes or any other vegetable that you're doing. Season the water so that you don't have to season the veg too much.
Now, there's kind of different schools of thoughts when it comes to seasoning your potato mash. You could put some paprika in it if you really wanted to, or some herbs, just to give it a different flavor.
Anything you like. It's all about a matter of preference. I prefer that potato mash is potato mash and not mixed with anything else.
Not these fancy wasabi mash with a dash of this and
exactly,
a
no.
smear of that.
Yeah, wasabi is for sushi. Just a matter of opinion. So once I've got the texture I like, now I can begin my seasoning process.
Okay. And we're doing this all still on the stove?
Correct, yes.
All right, I want to see how my work is doing here.
Right, there we go.
All right, you can actually see it's kind of, it's super smooth. It doesn't have that rough kind of texture that you get.
Velvety. That's what we want.
I always thought you had to put it in your blender to get that texture.
You can, but then you know what you're going to do? You're going to end up making a potato milkshake.
Oh.
And that just does something to the gluten, and then the gluten strands go like jelly and soggy, and it's not a mash, then it's just a potato milkshake, and there's a reason why shops don't sell potato milkshakes. It probably doesn't taste nice. Right, so we've got what we needed from the stove. We're going to move over here. Pepper.
And we're good to go. So essentially our oxtail is now 6 hours in. It's time to plate.
Yep. While I get the pot out, you can taste.
Oh, you've definitely done well with the seasoning.
Right, so the moment we've been waiting for.
Oh, that looks amazing.
Yes.
Let me get you a plate.
Thank you.
Let me get me a plate.
Ah, beautiful.
So now what are you looking for so that you know it's done?
Right, two things. Fall apart tender, check. Delicious sauce of everything reduced, check.
Veggies, you're not so worried about because they would have cooked in 6 hours.
In
anyway.
6 hours, everything in this pot should be cooked. And again, the 150 degrees is what really helps you just keep everything nice, low, and slow. Nice big pile
Dollop of potatoes.
And we're gonna make a little well in the center.
For the juices.
Yes. So you could totally take this, put some gloves on and take it off the bone and just work with it that way. Or you could just put the bone in the plate and eat it like you should.
But also like, it is a heritage kind of dish. As South Africans, we're super used to having it like this.
Exactly.
And sitting with the family around a fire and enjoying a good pot of oxtail.
Exactly. So there's one little thing that I want to add to this.
Okay.
Is that's a little gremolata.
What is gremolata?
So gremolata is basically just a mixture of lemon zest, parsley, a little bit of garlic, and some olive oil.
Let's move your pot up a little bit.
Thanks.
It's hot. The pot
Don't
is hot.
touch the hot pot. Just a touch.
So what does the gremolata do?
So it's just going to help cut that fat richness, because what you have is an ingredient that's been cooking slow, low, and you've got some unctuous velvety mash, smooth, and we're just adding a little bit of gremolata just to finish.
So I have a question, and when you put the garlic in earlier, and you said you're going to use it as a garnish.
Yes.
Not many people would use raw garlic.
That is correct. 6 hours of cooking, a little bit of fresh garlic, it's not going to hurt the dish.
Okay, so you know what I need? I need a knife and a fork.
And I'm going to get some glasses.
Nice. Let's give this a go, shall we?
You tuck in there, I'll tuck in here.
Oh, just look at how it flakes off the bone. Just look at that. You know what I really like about this is when I normally make oxtail, it's got quite a soupy gravy, if you want to call it that. This is, it's got that texture to it, and it really blends with the mash.
And that goes back to why I didn't put too much water in.
Yeah.
Putting in too much water gives you a way too much soupy end result, and this is so much more concentrated and thick and comforting.
No, this is absolutely excellent. If you want Franco to come and cook for you, make sure you go to chefandguest.co.za. Also, we have some wine to give away. So if you would like to win yourself, we've got 4 bottles of Aslina wine to give away. all you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and drop a comment at the bottom, and you could be a winner. Cheers. Thank you for dinner.
Thank you for having me.